Nora, will you marry me?
Oh, Frank! Frank! Am I dreaming? I gave you 7 whole years of my life!
Nora is the one I love, I'm sorry. Nora, my love, will you marry me?
Yes, Frank, 1,000 times yes!
You've made me the happiest man.
He proposed to another girl right in front of her after 7 years of relationship. Jane was the only child of very rich parents who lived in a beautiful mansion in a big city, and even though she had money, comfort, and servants around her every day, she was a very humble girl who greeted everyone kindly and never behaved proudly like many rich children her age. She studied business administration in the university, and her parents always warned her to focus on school and never allow any boy distract her future, because they wanted her to become a great woman first before thinking about love. One afternoon after lectures, Jane entered a small restaurant near her school because she was very hungry and tired from reading all day, and while she stood waiting for her food, she noticed a young man sitting alone reading a book with deep concentration, like the world around him did not exist. After a moment, the young man looked up, smiled warmly, and walked towards her with confidence. "Hello, my name is Frank," he said gently, "and I felt I should meet you because you look like someone special." Jane was surprised by his boldness, but also amused, and she smiled softly before replying that her name was Jane, and soon they began talking like old friends who had known each other for many years. They spoke about school, dreams, struggles, and life, and time moved so fast that Jane forgot she had just met him that day, because she felt peaceful and happy around him. When they finished eating, Frank walked her outside, collected her phone number politely, and promised to call her. That night, Jane lay on her bed smiling quietly, not knowing that a simple meeting in a small restaurant had just started a story that would later change her life forever. Frank and Jane began talking every day, and their conversations became longer and deeper because they enjoyed each other's company and slowly grew very close. But Jane kept the relationship hidden because she knew her parents would never approve of her dating while still in school. They met secretly after lectures, walked together, laughed together, and shared dreams about the future while promising to always stand by each other no matter what happened. Frank came from a poor background and struggled with money, yet Jane never cared about his financial status because she believed love was more important than wealth, and she admired his intelligence, determination, and hard-working nature. As months passed, their bond became stronger, and Jane felt she had found her life partner, someone she could trust with her heart completely, and even when her friends mocked Frank for not buying expensive gifts, she defended him proudly because she loved him for who he was and not for what he owned. Frank also promised her many times that one day he would become successful and give her a good life, and Jane believed every word because she trusted him fully. However, keeping the relationship secret made it feel even more special to Jane, like they were protecting something precious from the world, and every moment they spent together felt like a promise of a happy future waiting ahead. Jane did not know that sometimes the sweetest beginnings can hide the deepest pain, and sometimes the person you trust the most is the person capable of breaking you the hardest. As their relationship continued, Frank began facing financial difficulties because his part-time job was not enough to support his school expenses, and Jane could not bear seeing him suffer, so she started helping him quietly without telling her parents. She bought food for him, gave him money, bought clothes, and sometimes even skipped meals in her own house just to make sure he would eat well, and Frank thanked her repeatedly while promising that he would repay her kindness in the future when he finally became successful. Their love deepened, and Jane gave him her full loyalty because she believed they were building a life together, and she rejected many rich men who asked her out, even when her friends shouted at her and told her she was making a terrible mistake choosing a poor man over wealthy admirers. Frank often held her hands and assured her that one day he would marry her and make her proud, and those words made Jane trust him even more. But one day, while using Frank's phone to make a call, Jane discovered a photo album filled with pictures of another girl smiling beside Frank, and as she continued scrolling, she saw romantic messages and videos of him giving gifts to that same girl. Her heart froze instantly as pain rushed through her body, and she confronted Frank with tears in her eyes, asking who the girl was and why he betrayed her. Frank begged for forgiveness and claimed it happened during a misunderstanding and meant nothing, and after many pleas, Jane forgave him, even though her heart still hurt. She chose love over suspicion, not knowing that forgiveness sometimes becomes the door through which deeper betrayal quietly enters. After Jane forgave Frank, she decided to bury the painful memory deep inside her heart because she did not want anything to destroy the beautiful future she believed they were building together, and she even hid the truth from her friends so they would not hate him or convince her to leave him. She became even kinder to Frank, cooking for him, sneaking food from her house, and sometimes giving him her own share while she stayed hungry, because in her mind, love meant sacrifice and patience no matter how difficult things became. Frank thanked her and behaved lovingly, but slowly his attitude began to change in small ways that Jane noticed yet chose to ignore because she was afraid of losing him. He started canceling their meetings at the last minute and often claimed he was busy with work or school, and sometimes his phone would suddenly become unreachable for many hours, yet he always returned with convincing explanations that made Jane silence her doubts. Jane trusted him so deeply that she defended him even inside her own thoughts, telling herself that a man struggling to survive deserved understanding and support instead of suspicion. Meanwhile, Frank became better at hiding secrets as he deleted messages, cleared call logs, and lived a life Jane knew nothing about. And while she remained loyal and committed, he slowly built a second life behind her back. Years passed, and Jane continued loving him with her whole heart, believing their bond was strong enough to overcome anything, not knowing she was the only one still protecting a relationship that Frank had already stopped protecting long ago. Sometimes love blinds the eyes gently, not by force but by hope, and Jane's hope was slowly turning into the very thing that would one day destroy her peace completely. After graduation, Frank finally got a well-paying job, but instead of sharing the good news with Jane, he hid it from her because he no longer wanted her to know the truth about his life, and whenever she asked about his finances, he claimed he was still struggling and saving money for their future together. Jane, on the other hand, began working in her father's company while preparing for her master's degree abroad, yet she continued supporting Frank emotionally and never stopped believing that one day they would marry and live happily together. Whenever she needed small financial help, Frank always gave excuses, saying he was planning something big for their future, and Jane trusted him because she believed love meant patience and endurance. Her friends kept warning her that something felt wrong and that Frank was not behaving like a man planning marriage, but Jane defended him strongly because she felt loyalty meant standing beside someone even when others doubted them. At night, she imagined their wedding, their home, and the children they would have together, and those dreams comforted her heart so much that she never realized she was dreaming alone, while Frank was already planning a different life without her. Frank continued visiting her with sweet words and warm smiles, and each time he promised her a beautiful future, Jane's heart melted again because she loved him not only for who he was, but also for who she believed he would become. But sometimes the future we imagine exists only in our own hearts, and while Jane was holding tightly to promises, Frank had already started letting go long ago. One afternoon, while Jane was at work, she received a call from an unknown number asking her to come to one of the most expensive hotels in the city because someone had something important to show her. She became nervous and confused, but then a sudden thought entered her mind that maybe Frank had finally prepared the surprise proposal he always talked about, and her heart began beating fast with excitement and hope. She rushed home, dressed beautifully, and looked at herself in the mirror with shy happiness, imagining that after many years of waiting, her love story was finally reaching the moment she had prayed for. As she arrived at the Grand Hotel, she noticed decorations, lights, music, and people gathered inside, and her excitement grew stronger because everything looked like a celebration. She slowly walked forward, smiling and searching for Frank in the crowd, but suddenly the smile disappeared from her face when she saw him standing in the center of the hall, holding a ring. Before she could understand what was happening, Frank knelt down in front of another lady and proposed marriage to her while everyone clapped loudly. Jane froze completely as the world around her became silent, her heart pounding painfully inside her chest while her mind struggled to accept what her eyes were seeing. The man she loved for 7 years, the man she sacrificed for, the man she trusted with her life, was proposing to another woman right in front of her. Her body became weak, her vision blurred, and before she could even move or speak, Jane collapsed on the ground and lost consciousness. The dream she protected for years had just shattered in a single moment.
Jane slowly opened her eyes in the hospital and saw white walls, quiet machines, and her worried parents sitting beside her bed. But her mind was still trapped inside the painful memory of the hotel, where the man she loved chose another woman in front of everyone. Her body felt weak and heavy, and she tried to understand if what she saw was real or just a terrible dream her heart created from fear. The next day, she noticed a message on her phone from Frank saying he was sorry for everything. Before she could even think, her phone began ringing and his name appeared on the screen, making her hands tremble as she slowly answered the call. Frank's voice sounded calm and distant as he apologized again, but his next words pierced her heart deeper than any knife ever could, because he told her he could not marry her and that she was not the kind of woman he wanted to spend his life with. He explained that he had already found someone he truly loved and that their wedding would take place the following week, and then he said he never really loved Jane, but only thought he did at the time. Jane could not speak because her throat felt locked and her chest burned with pain, and while he continued talking casually, her entire world collapsed silently inside her. After the call ended, she stared at the phone for a long time before tears began pouring down her face endlessly as she realized 7 years of love had ended with only a few careless sentences. She wanted to scream, ask questions, and demand explanations, but her voice refused to come out because heartbreak had stolen even her strength to cry loudly. At that moment, Jane understood that sometimes pain does not shout, it sits quietly inside the chest and breaks the heart slowly. After returning home from the hospital, Jane locked herself inside her room and avoided everyone because she did not have the strength to explain the truth to her parents, who believed she only fainted from stress and tiredness. She stopped going to work, stopped answering friends' calls, and spent most of her time staring at the ceiling while memories of her years with Frank replayed inside her mind again and again, like a movie she could not pause. She remembered the food she secretly gave him, the nights she slept hungry so he could eat, the rich men she rejected, and the promises he made while holding her hands and looking into her eyes with what she thought was sincerity. Her heart kept asking questions her mind could not answer because she wondered where she went wrong and why loving someone with her whole heart still ended in abandonment and humiliation. Sometimes she blamed herself and remembered their past misunderstandings, thinking maybe she was not patient enough, or maybe she loved him too much, and those thoughts slowly filled her with guilt, even though she did nothing wrong. Every night she cried quietly so her parents would not hear her pain, and every morning she forced a weak smile pretending she was recovering, while inside she was breaking more each day. Her future suddenly felt empty because she had built her dreams around one person, and now that person had removed himself from her life completely without warning. Jane felt lost in a darkness she could not escape, because heartbreak is not only the loss of a person, but also the loss of the life you imagined with them. Days turned into weeks, and Jane's sadness became heavier until even breathing felt difficult, because every small thing reminded her of Frank and the years she gave him faithfully. Her parents tried to cheer her up and asked many times what troubled her, but she lied and said she was only tired from work because she was too ashamed to admit the truth of how deeply she had been hurt. At night, she thought about starting life again and meeting someone new, but fear filled her heart because she could not imagine trusting another person after giving everything she had and receiving betrayal in return. She felt her life had lost meaning and that happiness would never return, and those thoughts slowly pushed her into a dangerous loneliness where she believed ending her pain was easier than living with it. One quiet night, she sat on her bed thinking about all the memories she shared with Frank, and tears soaked her pillow as she whispered goodbye to a future that no longer existed. Believing there was no other way to stop the pain inside her chest, she made a decision she could never reverse. That night, she drank a harmful substance and lay down to sleep, hoping the suffering in her heart would finally disappear forever. But morning came with silence instead of healing, and her parents woke up to find their only daughter lifeless on her bed. The house filled with cries and sorrow as they held her body, unable to understand why their loving child left without a word. Sometimes the deepest wounds are the ones no one sees until it becomes too late. Her mother held her body tightly and screamed in deep pain, while her father stood frozen beside the door, unable to believe the child he raised with love and care was gone, without telling them what troubled her heart. They kept asking themselves what they did wrong and why their cheerful daughter suddenly became quiet in the past weeks, yet Jane had hidden her suffering so perfectly that no one knew she was fighting a battle inside her heart. Family members and neighbors gathered in the mansion as sorrow spread through the house, and everyone remembered how kind and gentle Jane always was to people around her. Her parents discovered her phone beside the bed, but there was no message explaining her decision, and this confused them even more because they could not understand why a young girl with a bright future would leave life so suddenly. They wished she had spoken, cried, or asked for help instead of choosing silence, because sometimes sharing pain reduces its weight, but hiding it makes it heavier than the heart can carry. The once lively mansion became a quiet place, filled with memories and regrets, and her parents' tears continued because wealth could not buy back the life they lost. Sometimes the people who smile the most are the ones hurting the deepest inside. While Jane's family mourned in sadness, Frank continued his life normally and married the woman he proposed to at the hotel, surrounded by music, celebration, and laughter from friends and well-wishers who congratulated him happily. He wore a bright smile and exchanged vows without anyone knowing the history he left behind, and to many people it looked like a perfect love story beginning beautifully. Days became months and months became years, and Frank enjoyed comfort and success because his job improved and his life appeared stable. Yet life has a way of remembering every action, even when people forget. Some consequences do not come immediately because time sometimes allows a person to enjoy peace before facing the results of past decisions. And though Frank continued smiling, the future still carried lessons waiting for him ahead. But Jane's story had already ended, and her parents were left only with photographs and memories of the daughter who once filled their home with joy. People who heard about her death advised others to always speak when hurting and never allow heartbreak to steal their life, because pain passes, but life does not return once it is gone. Dear besties, this story carries an important message because relationships sometimes bring disappointment, betrayal, and deep emotional wounds, but ending one's life only transfers the pain to the people who truly love you. Jane believed her world ended when the person she trusted left her, yet life still had many possibilities she never allowed herself to see. And if she had spoken to someone or waited patiently, healing would have slowly come with time. Even though Frank would still meet his karma, it might take years before he experiences it, but before then he must have enjoyed his life with his newfound love. So why take your life? It is not worth it in the end. No human being is worth losing your life for, because the right person will never destroy your peace or make you feel worthless. And when love brings constant tears instead of comfort, walking away is strength, not failure. Even when betrayal happens, a new beginning always exists somewhere ahead, and many people who once cried later found happiness they never imagined possible. So if you ever feel alone or broken, talk to someone you trust, seek help, rest your heart, and remember that storms do not last forever, even when they feel endless at night. Love yourself enough to survive disappointment, because survival itself is victory, and one day the pain will become only a memory instead of a wound. Thank you for listening to this story, and may it remind you that your life is always more valuable than any relationship. If you reached this point, drop your thoughts in the comments and tell us the country you are watching from. Please stay connected to this channel for more deep, powerful, and unforgettable stories coming your way. See you in the next one.